Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? Hopefully you can all hear me and hopefully more people trickle in as we go. I'll just introduce myself really quick. My name is Allison and I am the student advisor here at the Renison English Language Institute. And I'd just like to say thank you to all of you for your interest in Renison and for coming out to this workshop. I'm sure more people will join as we go. But yeah, if you want, I would love to hear a little bit more about each of you. If you want to send a little introduction in the chat and just include maybe your name or where you're from or why you're interested in learning English at Renison. I would love to get to know you throughout the workshop. So I'll give it just a minute before I really dive in and start here, just to see if anyone else is joining. Yeah, if you wanted to unmute yourself and give a little introduction as well, then that's great. We have a small group, so it might be nice for everyone to get acquainted. I will also say that for the workshop, it is very low key. You don't have to worry about interrupting or anything. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask out loud. Or if you're more comfortable, you can send your questions in the chat. I will keep an eye on the chat box as well, so I can just see if there's anything that needs to be covered. If at any point you want me to slow down even, feel free to let me know. I sometimes get very excited and talk really fast. So if you need me to go back or slow down at all, don't worry, you can absolutely let me know. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started then. And we're just gonna quickly go through some of the programs that we offer at Renison, at the English Language Institute, that you all might be interested in. So hopefully you can see my screen. If you can give me maybe a thumbs up in the chat or something, so I know that we can all see the same things, then that would be awesome. Perfect. So I'm not sure how everyone heard about the Renison English Language Institute, but welcome. The English Language Institute is hosted at Renison University College, which is affiliated with the University of Waterloo. And at the English Language Institute, or the ELI, as we call it, we offer both in-person and virtual classes now. So the ELI offers both academic and general English learning courses that are there to suit the needs of every individual student. So the Essential Soft Skills in English course, or SE as we call it, is the virtual program that's offered through the English Language Institute here at the University of Waterloo. It is offered in a way that is engaging and creates a community among the students and the staff. So in the English Soft Skills and English course, you get practical workplace English skills that you need to excel with the flexibility to allow you to work around your busy schedule while you're learning. This course helps students to set themselves apart in their careers and in their everyday life. At the English Language Institute here at the University of Waterloo, we offer 3 main on-campus courses or programs. So English for Academic Success, General English at Renison, and English for Success. The English for Academic Success is our academic on-campus course. So we typically refer to it as EFAS. This course teaches you the academic skills that you need to be successful in university, such as English reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And it sets you up to excel wherever your academic journey might take you. The General English at Renison program, or GEAR as we call it, is one of our on-campus general English programs. This program allows you to learn a variety of different English skills, and it works as a cultural studies skill. With 5 hours of classes per day and planned activities and field trips, this program is a great option for learning general English at a world-renowned university. So the GEAR program does a lot of different fun interactive activities throughout the whole month that you study in it. English for Success is our other on-campus general English course. So we typically call it EFS. With the English for Success program, you can strengthen your English communication and social skills while exploring Canada. This program is offered in the summer months and it's geared towards students who are over 18. So I don't think we have anyone under 18 here, but yeah, if you're over 18, the EFS program is a lot of fun. So with weekly excursions to places such as Toronto and Niagara Falls, you, your classmates, and Canadian peers will get to travel all over the province. This is a great way to connect with new friends and make the most of your experience. There are always weekly activities hosted here at the university, such as educational workshops, fun games and crafts, and so many other things. And it's a great way to stay connected. We're also located in the heart of downtown Waterloo, which means that with just a short walk or a bus trip, you are able to explore our city with your classmates and with your friends. So it's really easy to get around in Waterloo, and there is no limit to the things that you can do here. It's a lot of fun. So here is kind of a sample calendar for the activities that you might see at the University of Waterloo through ELI. So you can see there's a big variety of ways to keep you connected. So we have things like bus trips, sporting events and playing games like soccer, different academic programs like meet and greets with upper year students who study at the university, various ways to work on your part-time or full-time job skills and work on your employable skills, as well as just fun activities to practice your English through conversation lunches or conversation hangouts, and just generally a lot of different big variety of activities that we offer. So for your accommodations, if you make Waterloo your home away from home, you can join us on campus. So on campus and off campus living arrangements are available to suit your needs. There are also meal plans and other amenities available like gyms and things like that on campus. These 2 pictures are from Renison's residence. I lived here in my first year, so if anyone has any questions about that experience, it was easily a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved it and would recommend it to anyone. So if you have any questions or want to learn more about one or more of our programs, feel free to connect with us, and we are always happy to chat with new students. So you can reach out to Grant or Ryan. Grant is our Director of Marketing and Recruitment here at Renison, and Ryan is our manager for the student experience team in the Renison English Language Institute. So they are really great contacts to have. And there are also our social media pages that you can follow and stay connected. So please be sure to check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So I know that's quite a bit of information. Don't worry, you will not be tested on it. If you do have any other questions as well, feel free to send a message in the chat. I can also hang out for a little while at the very end, and we can chat a bit more about the programs if you have anything that you wanted clarified or you just want to talk. Why do you recommend living in Renison? Absolutely, great question. For me, Renison had a really great community. So it's very easy to make new friends in Renison. It's very diverse as well. So you will have lots of students here who are both from Canada and from abroad, because a lot of our English language programs run out of Renison. So I think we have close to 10 programs overall for English language learners in Renison, and they're all in the English Language Institute, and quite a few students in those programs will live here as well. And there's always different events that you can take part in. We have college dinners, wine din events and dances and things like that throughout the term. Very fun, very connected. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question. And the rooms are all updated. So they just redid all of them. I think it was in 2015. So everything is some of the newest furniture and newest rooms on campus. So yeah, perfect. Thank you for your question, Carlos. Awesome. So I guess now we can get into what we really came here for, which is the Life in Canada workshop. So I'll pull that up. Let's see if it will go full screen, I hope. Perfect. So you can all see that okay? I'm not hearing a no, so I'm going to assume yes. Awesome. So welcome to the Life in Canada workshop. I hope this is fun for you. Again, if you have any questions about life in Canada, or you want to know any more about things that you see on the screen that I don't talk about quite as much, feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer. I was born and raised in Canada. I've pretty much been here my entire life, so I should be an expert, but who really knows? We can start off with some fast facts about Canada. So Canada's population is about 36 million people, which makes us the 38th largest country in the world. Our land area is approximately 10 million square kilometers, or 3.9 million square miles, if you use miles. We are the second country by land mass on Earth. Does anyone know what the largest country by land mass on Earth is? Or does anyone want to take a guess? See who our competition is. Russia. Perfect. Good job, Carlos. Yes. So we are second to Russia, and I believe it's China that's in number 3. Our capital city is Ottawa, which is in Ontario. It's about 6 hours from Waterloo. Our official languages are English, which about 80% of the population speak as their first language, and French, which is only about 20% of the population who speak that as their first language. We all actually have to learn French starting in the 4th grade, at least in Ontario. And some people continue doing that through their whole lives, but a lot of us kind of stop after high school. Our head of the federal government, which is our national government, is, you guys probably know, Mr. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He has been our prime minister for the last 6 years and just won another election last month to continue being our prime minister for the next 4 at least. We are under the sovereign Queen Elizabeth II. So Canada is an independent country, but we do still pay a lot of attention to the Queen and to England, and she is represented by the Governor General, Julie Payette, who has to sign off on all of our legislators and documents for our government. We do have subnational governments, which are 10 provinces: British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland and Labrador, and Prince Edward Island. So that is all of them from east to west. And we also have 3 territories way up in the north. So they're the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and Yukon. So here is a map of Canada. I'm sure you've all seen one before, I hope at least, on a world map. So there's lots of different things going on in our country. So over here, these kind of rickety areas are where the Rocky Mountains are, which a lot of you have probably heard of. It's something that's still on my bucket list to see, might be on yours as well, especially Banff, which is one of our biggest national parks in Alberta. It kind of borders between Alberta and British Columbia over here. And then you go through and we have the prairies in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. There's a joke that if you stand at one side of Saskatchewan, maybe beside Alberta, you can see all the way to Manitoba because it is very flat. So there isn't a whole lot going on over there. The territories up north are very, very cold in the winter, super close to Greenland. They're also super unpopulated. So there's only a handful of actual cities or towns in the territories, and they don't have too many people living there. And once we come down to Ontario, you see all of these Great Lakes. So they are called the Great Lakes because we are not very creative when we come up with our names. So there's Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and not listed is, of course, Lake Ontario. Down here, you can see Ottawa, which is, as I mentioned before, our nation's capital. So that's where Parliament is and where Justin Trudeau lives. Toronto is down here, which is probably the city you are most familiar with. And just south of Toronto, around this area here, I hope you can see my mouse, is where Waterloo and Kitchener are. So that is where I'm living. That is hopefully where all of you will come and visit someday soon. Also, as I mentioned before, Canada has English and French as the national languages, but only one province, has both as their official languages for the province, and that is New Brunswick. So New Brunswick is our only technically bilingual province in Canada. So now, very important, we'll talk a little bit about money in Canada. So a fun fact about it is that all of our money is made of plastic, like all of our paper bills at least. So Canada's official currency is the Canadian dollar, and the bills are the $5 bill, which you can see here, it is blue. We have Sir Wilfrid Laurier on that one. Sir John A. Macdonald is on our $10 bill, and he was, I believe, the first Prime Minister of Canada. I might be wrong about that, though. I haven't studied history in a long time. Queen Elizabeth II has been on our $20 bill for quite a long time. And Lester B. Pearson is on our 50, and Sir Robert Borden is on the $100 bill. So I always think that it's very fun that our banknotes are colored so that it is very easy to find in your wallet. And another fun fact about them is that the $50 bill, I believe, is rumored to smell like maple syrup. So if you ever come across a Canadian $50 bill, if you scratch this transparent part here, it's meant to smell like maple syrup. I don't come across a lot of 50s, but if you do, let me know. Oops. All right, and some more Canadian money because of course we can't stop there. We also have the dollar is divided up into 100 cents. So cash transactions are rounded to the nearest 5 cents now, just because Canada no longer uses 1 cent coins, which we used to call pennies. So those coins are the 5 cent coin, which is the nickel, and it has a lovely picture of the beaver on it. The 10 cent coin or the dime has our blue nose, which was a big ship that they used when colonizing in Canada. The 25 cent coin or the quarter is represented by the caribou. The $1 coin is our loonie, which I think is one of the most fun names for a coin, and that has a common loon on it, which is a bird that you can see in different parts of Canada. And we have our $2 coin, the toonie, which has our polar bears on it, which sadly not many of us have as pets, which you might have thought previously. There's lots of different other Canadian symbols and icons that we have as well. So one is the maple leaf, which everyone is the most familiar with. It represents strength and endurance, and that's why it was chosen as our symbol on our flag. We also have the remembrance poppy. So that's worn on the left side of our shirts over our hearts during the month of November to pay respect for fallen soldiers and to represent somewhere called Flanders Fields, which is a very large cemetery in remembrance of our fallen soldiers where a lot of them have been buried. We also have the crown, which is a sign of government and authority and shows our connection to the Queen and the monarchy. And the Canadian coat of arms, which is our official symbol of Canada's federal government. We also have the Mounties, which are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, also known as the RCMP. And those are the Canadian National Police Force, and they're mostly found in places like Ottawa or kind of out west where they all ride on horses, and they do have the most fun hats I think I've seen on any uniform. And finally, the beaver, which is a symbol of Canada's hard work and our historic fur trade, which links back to the Hudson's Bay Company, which was one of the first large companies in Canada. And it's actually still around today and going very strong. So do any of these symbols look familiar? I know one of them we saw on the last page. Do you remember what coin our friend the beaver is on in Canadian currency? Maybe you're thinking about it. The 5, yes. So the nickel, absolutely. Good job, Carlos. Awesome. So moving on to the Indigenous peoples. So before Europeans colonized what is now Canada, the indigenous peoples of North America lived on the land for thousands of years. So there are hundreds of different Indigenous nations across Canada with over 1 million Indigenous peoples living in Canada today. So they have fascinating cultures and languages, all very different from one another, and expert knowledge about the land and its creatures. They are also well known for their beautiful artwork and cultural ceremonies. So they actually invented canoes, which might be a boat that you are a little familiar with right now as well. If you've ever gone to a big lake or anything, you might have taken a little canoe trip. So they created those, and they make lots of beautiful artwork out of beads and just beautifully colored wool. So definitely check out and learn a lot more about Indigenous peoples when you do come here, because they have a beautiful, rich history and such an amazing connection to the land and to everything that the world and nature has to offer. So we also have lots of different foods and drinks in Canada. I'll mostly be talking about the food. So it is very similar to a lot of other Western countries, and we do eat just a variety of different cultural foods that other friends have brought over from different cultural backgrounds. But for the most part, it is a lot of things like chicken, beef, pork, bread, pasta, and then seasonal vegetables and fruits, just because we can't really farm too well all year round. So many Canadians will also enjoy a glass of beer or wine if they are over 19 years of age, especially if they are out at a restaurant or if it's a special occasion. But drinking excessive amounts is discouraged. And when we're dining out, it is expected to tip at least 15% of your bill to the waiter or waitress. So I know tipping isn't very important or isn't common, I guess, in a lot of other countries, but in Canada, it is absolutely necessary if you are going to a sit-down restaurant. So some of our main foods in Canada are big cultural foods that I think we are really the only ones who eat for the most part. We have Canadian bacon, which is thicker cut slices of pork, and it's very often made fun of by Americans for just being ham. You might have heard this joke if you watch a lot of American television, but it is very good, and we like to eat it. Some people just make it as like a full bacon sandwich, and it is delicious. There are also Nanaimo bars, which are named after the island of Nanaimo in British Columbia. So they're delicious square snacks with chocolate, graham crackers, coconut, and almonds in them. They are amazing. We also have poutine, which some of you, maybe you've tried it before or you've at least heard of it, I guarantee. So these are French fries with lots of gravy and cheese curds, and then the cheese kind of melts onto the fries, and it is delicious. We also have ketchup chips, which are my favorite Canadian delicacy. It's really just chips that are a vague kind of ketchup flavor. I have tried them in other countries, but the Canadian ones are the best version. They're very different anywhere else. So be sure to try those when you come as well. And we have butter tarts. So these are delicious butter treats with syrup and sometimes raisins baked into them. They're a little bit seasonal. So typically in the fall, we'll eat them more. And of course, what all of you know is maple syrup. If you haven't heard of Canadian maple syrup, I will be very surprised. But every year around this time, actually, it gets tapped from the maple trees and made to be a little bit sweeter, sometimes not as much. And we typically put it on things like waffles and pancakes in the morning. So it's definitely a breakfast treat. There are also beaver tails, which don't worry, they don't include real beaver tails. It's a very thin pastry with often brown sugar on it. Sometimes you'll see things like Nutella and bananas like the one in the picture, but typically they're just loaded with a lot of really delicious sweets. And you can find them in a lot of tourist areas, or certain towns will have a beaver stand tail, or at fairs and festivals. So those are really good to try. And of course, Montreal smoked meat. So you have to go visit Montreal and you have to get a smoked meat sandwich because people will line up for hours at certain restaurants in order to eat some of these. So definitely be sure to try them. And now I have a quick poll just to find out from each of you. Oh, I apparently do not have a quick poll. If you want to answer in the chat then, or maybe unmute yourself, it is a small group. Just what Canadian food would you want to try? What one do you think looks the best to you? I'll go back so you can see the pictures again. Are there any of them that you're interested in? Maybe the bacon or the beaver tails? You want to understand why I love ketchup chips so much? Does anyone want to share? Number 2, the Nanaimo bars. Absolutely. Must have a big sweet tooth. The pork, the bacon, or the sandwich, maybe. Yeah, both are very, very good. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So some summer sports in Canada. I know we've just moved past this season, but it is still very exciting. So we have lacrosse, which is Canada's official summer sport. It's very similar to hockey, except for everything is played in sticks above the ground with a ball. I don't understand all of the rules for it, but a lot of people really like it. It was actually originally created by the Indigenous Peoples, and those games would take days to complete. So it would be a whole, maybe week-long activity that the community would participate in. And when the Europeans came and colonized, we kind of adopted their game and changed a lot of the rules and made it our own big sport that we all very much enjoy. There's also rugby, which is especially popular in British Columbia and Atlantic Canada. So you might be familiar with that one. It's similar to American football with a very large ball, but it's a lot more intense. We also have Canadian football, which is even more similar to American. Some of the rules are a little bit different, and I think the ball is a little bit bigger, but it is very, very popular across Canada. If you're familiar with our holiday of Labor Day, I think it's a holiday in a lot of other countries, but during our Labor Day weekend, the CFL, or Canadian Football League, has the Labor Day Classic, which is where 2 of the teams will compete in one of the most watched sporting events of the whole season. And that is very often held in my hometown of Hamilton. So that's really exciting for me. There's also baseball, which a lot of families like to play together. Many people grow up playing this as well. And we have Canada's only Major League Baseball team in Toronto, which is the Toronto Blue Jays. So you might have heard of them. They just had a very disappointing end to the season recently. And that's actually a common joke across Canada, is just that Toronto sports teams always get the most hype and people are the most excited about them, but they are the most disappointing. So it's a lot of fun kind of poking fun at our sports and our sports fans. A fun fact that you may not know is that basketball was actually a Canadian invention. So it was invented by the Canadian James Naismith in 1891 while he was teaching at a YMCA institute in Massachusetts in America, but it's still Canadian. So that's him right there. And this is what the original ball would have looked like. So as you can see, it has laces on the top, which is very similar to a football. So you have to go, no worries. Thank you so much for coming, Carlos. Have a great day. So yeah, it's very similar to what a football would look like. We also have the Toronto Raptors, which is Canada's only National Basketball Association team, or NBA team. And they won the championships in 2019. And this is the first time ever that the Raptors have brought home a championship that they have won. So this is really exciting. And 7.7 million people tuned into the game. So across the whole globe, loads of people were watching and cheering for our team, which is really exciting for us. And the streets of Toronto were actually closed off in celebration for days following the event. And then some winter sports in Canada. So we had skiing and snowboarding, which are very popular for winter getaways. A lot of people will kind of grow up doing skiing and snowboarding. So it's a lot of fun for them to kind of introduce their families to it later, or go to Quebec or Northern Ontario or to BC to go skiing on trips with friends. There's also, of course, ice hockey, which is very well known for us. Canada has 7 National Hockey League teams, so a lot of people like to watch and enjoy. The closest one to us would also be the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Montreal Canadiens have actually, I think, hold the title for the most Stanley Cups won. So the Stanley Cup is the important thing at the end, like the very big trophy that you win after a hockey season. So it's really exciting that that is kind of home to us and in our country. Sledding and tobogganing are a great use of snow. So this is really fun, especially for families or kind of younger people. It's basically just a plastic seat and you take it down a hill. There's lots of big parks that are very famous for this as well across Canada, and we have one here in Kitchener as well. And curling is one of our big national sports for the winter. It's when you kind of take a broom and you want to sweep the ice and get this giant rock into the center of the rink. It is a lot more fun than it looks, and I highly recommend trying it out if you ever get the chance. So some kind of formalities in Canada they do come down to our gestures and body language. So shaking hands when you meet someone new is very common. So if we were doing this in person and I got to meet you face to face, then I probably would have shaken your hand when you walked in the room. Also, saying hello and nodding your head or waving your hand are very acceptable ways to acknowledge someone. And it's respectful to remove sunglasses and hats while you're indoors. So a lot of people don't like to wear them when they're around people inside. It's just seen as a little bit rude. And people do tend to stand 2 to 3 feet or 1 meter apart just to leave some personal space between each other. And small talk is very common in Canada. So I think the biggest complaint against Canadians is that we will often ask, "How are you?" as just a formality. So just to be polite when we meet someone or we're just passing by. A lot of people don't like this because it seems like we don't actually care when we ask, but it is something that we say all the time. Whether you're waiting for coffee in line or if you're talking to someone at the bus stop. So small talk is something that you will come across a lot in Canadian culture. So it really is just light, informal conversation about different topics that are supposed to be easy to discuss and uncontroversial. So you might talk about things like the weather, sports, your plans for the weekend or the evening, maybe your background or your upbringing or your culture, and often your current occupation. So if you're a student, a cashier, maybe a doctor or scientist, whatever you do for a living, a lot of times you'll start talking about that while you're just casually interacting with people. And finally, I just wanted to touch on some of the big events and holidays that we have in Canada. So Canadians love any reason to celebrate. So here are just a couple of activities that we like to do. So one of them is Canada Day, which is the day that we were officially elected an independent country, and that is on July 1st. So you'll see people dressed in red and white. They often get together for barbecues and parties with friends and family. Sometimes there are little festivals in certain towns, and every year people set off loads and loads of fireworks. So it's really fun to experience and see. There's also the Quebec Winter Carnival, which has a lot of different ice sculptures and activities across Quebec. You can also meet this lovely gentleman here who is called Bonhomme, which means the man or happy man, I think, in French. Bonhomme de Neige is snowman in French, so I think his name is just a shortened version of that. And we also, of course, have Halloween, which you might be a little more familiar with. So that is on October 31st. So just next weekend, we will be celebrating that. People will carve jack-o'-lanterns, which is like this little pumpkin here, and watch scary movies. Children will go trick-or-treating, which is going door to door and asking for candy. And they get to dress up in really fun costumes. So it's a really fun, exciting time of year for everyone. We also have a lot of fall fairs and summer carnivals that happen. So in every town or some of the cities you can go to, and you can ride Ferris wheels or see a bunch of different shows. There's often small vendors who will be there to like help out and sell some of their items. Yeah, it's a very fun time. There are also crash tests or crash derbies, car derbies, which are basically like an actual car in a big sand pit, and people just smash cars together. And we like to come together and watch those as well. So that's a really fun one. And then, of course, the Calgary Stampede, which happens throughout the month of July. And here you can watch a lot of rodeos and play some games, like a giant fair that happens all across Calgary. And there are also bull riding. So it's a really exciting thing to see. I haven't gone. Again, this is one of my bucket list items, and I hope it becomes one for you as well. That is a huge celebration across Alberta. So it's definitely something to go and check out. I was going to finish off with a Kahoot, but I don't know how much fun that will be with just a couple of people. So I'll kind of stop sharing my screen here. I'm not sure. Just wanted to check in and see kind of how both of you are doing right now. Maybe what is the thing that you're interested in if you do choose to come and study in Canada? Or if you have any questions about life in Canada or what we do and have to offer, I'm more than happy to just chat for the next couple minutes. And if you don't have any questions, don't feel pressured. It's okay. I will just send my email in the chat here. So if any questions do come up, feel free to send me a message, and I'm more than happy to talk or answer any questions, maybe about the programs or Waterloo or life in Canada in general. So yeah. And if you don't have any questions right now, then I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for participating. It was really great to have both of you here. And I really do hope to see you on our side of the globe and in Waterloo very soon. Thank you, Sabrina. Have a great day. Thank you, Christian. Take care, you both. Bye.